Hello and welcome to Fables of the World. Today, our tale doesn't come from ancient scrolls or dusty books, but from the dark corners of our modern age. It's a story whispered around campfires and told late at night on lonely highways. It is a modern fable, an urban legend, known in countless variations across the globe. We call it the Vanishing Hitchhiker. Our story begins with a young man named Alex, driving alone on a long, deserted stretch of road. The night was cold and moonless, and the only light came from his headlights, which cut a narrow swath through the impenetrable darkness. Alex was on his way home from a long trip, and the miles seemed to stretch on forever. The radio had long since lost its signal, and the silence in the car was beginning to feel heavy and strange. He was tired and his eyes kept scanning the dark fields on either side of the road, half expecting to see something that wasn't there. It was a perfect night for a ghost story to unfold. Suddenly, in the distance, he saw a figure standing on the side of the road. It was a young woman, dressed in a white dress, shivering in the cold. Alex, a kind-hearted man, slowed his car and pulled over. He rolled down his window. "Are you all right?" he called out. "You're all alone out here." The woman looked up, her face pale in the faint light of his headlights. "I'm fine," she said, her voice a soft, quiet whisper. "My car broke down a few miles back. I'm trying to get home." Her eyes seemed to be fixed on a point in the distance, a point that Alex couldn't see. "Can you take me to the next town?" she asked. Alex, without a second thought, told her to get in. She opened the back door and slid into the seat behind him. As Alex drove, he tried to make conversation. "That's a terrible place for your car to break down," he said, trying to sound cheerful. "There's nothing out here for miles." The woman didn't respond for a moment. He glanced in his rearview mirror and saw her sitting perfectly still, her hands clasped in her lap. "Yes," she finally said. "It was a very bad place." Her voice was so soft he almost didn't hear it. The conversation lapsed back into silence. Alex found the quiet to be unnerving. He noticed a strange, earthy smell, like damp soil and old flowers, that seemed to come from the back seat. He looked in his mirror again. The woman's eyes were still fixed on a point far ahead of them, her expression unreadable. "What's your name?" he asked, to break the tension. "Sarah," she replied, her voice a little more firm this time. "And where exactly are you trying to go?" he asked. She simply gave him directions, pointing to a turnoff he would have missed in the dark. Alex followed her directions, pulling off the main highway onto a smaller, unpaved road that wound its way through a dense forest. The car bounced and rattled, and the branches of trees scraped against the sides of his car. "It's just a little farther," she said. Alex glanced in his rearview mirror one more time to ask her for more specific directions. But when he looked, the back seat was empty. He slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a halt. He twisted around in his seat, his heart pounding in his chest. The back door was closed. There was no sign of anyone. Alex's blood ran cold. His hands gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. He looked again, his mind frantically searching for a rational explanation. Had she jumped out? The car was still moving. The door was closed. There was no way. He turned the key, shutting off the engine, plunging the car into a total, disorienting darkness. He got out, his heart pounding in his chest, and began to search the area with his phone's flashlight. He looked under the car, in the ditches on either side of the road, and into the dense trees that lined the path. The only things he saw were shadows and the glint of his own car's reflection. He called out her name, Sarah. Sarah. But his voice was swallowed by the silence. The strange, earthy smell was still in the air, a phantom presence that told him he hadn't imagined her. A cold sweat broke out on his brow as he slowly, reluctantly, got back into the driver's seat. He had to keep moving, he had to find answers. A few minutes later, he came to a small, isolated graveyard. A simple stone gate stood at the entrance. Alex, feeling drawn by a force he couldn't explain, parked the car and walked to the gate. He saw a small, weather-beaten house just beyond the graveyard, a single light burning in its window. He decided to go to the house, hoping someone might have an answer. An old man with a kind, weary face answered the door. Alex, still shaken, explained what had happened. The old man listened patiently, his expression unchanging. When Alex had finished, he simply nodded. Yes, the old man said softly. It happens every year on this night. Alex stared at him, confused. What happens? The old man pointed a gnarled finger toward the graveyard. My daughter, he said, his voice thick with sorrow. Sarah. She died in a car accident on that highway, exactly 50 years ago tonight. Every year, she tries to find her way home, and every year, a kind stranger like you gives her a ride. Alex, horrified, asked where her grave was. The old man pointed to a simple, unadorned headstone. On it, carved in faded letters, were the words, Sarah, died 1975. The same age as the girl in his car. The story of the vanishing hitchhiker is more than just a ghost story, it is a modern fable. It speaks to our deepest fears, the fear of the unknown on a dark road, the fear of isolation, and the fear of a past that refuses to be forgotten. It is a cautionary tale, a warning to be careful on long, lonely drives. But it is also a story about compassion, about the willingness of a kind stranger to help someone in need, even if that person turns out to be a ghost forever searching for home. The legend reminds us that some journeys are not about a destination, but about a memory that will not fade.